Hello and welcome back to the Trick Play Podcast. I'm Simon Chaskovsky here with Caleb Peterson, and shortly we will be breaking down all the sports-related news, rumors, and drama that you will want to hear about. And it is Sunday night. It is late as hell, and we just spent a full day watching football for the first time since like January or whenever the hell the NFL season normally ends. And God, was it fun? God, was it tiring? We're gonna try and recap it all and try and hit under 30 minutes. We agreed that was gonna be the plan because last week we spent hours talking about football. I already swore in the first minute. I'm killing it this week.
Oh,
Like,
then there's the Seahawks lost this week. There's going to be significantly more swearing.
R-rated,
So
R-rated trick play episode. But yeah,
anytime the Seahawks lose, it will be an R-rated trick play episode.
for sure. Yeah, and we're gonna try and touch on some other topics this week. There's some stuff going on in the MLB. College football's back going. What else did I talk about? DeBrincat said some stupid crap about Ottawa that we'll talk about in the NHL. Supposedly. We're gonna talk about other stuff this week. It's gonna be great. Football isn't the only sport. You ready to go?
Oh, I'm ready.
Like Simon said at the top of the podcast, the first order of business this week is the NFL. Kicked off this week. I have watched way too much football. In fact, I'm watching football right now as we record this. Well, if you know what happened to the Sunday night game, you know that I don't really need to pay too much attention to that, but not to get ahead of myself. But yeah, we'll go through the games one by one. We're going to try to keep it really quick. We're not going to do another 2-hour segment. So we're just going to go give our initial thoughts on the game and then move on because I think we have like 13 games to get to. Nobody's got a bye week.
Yep,
so
pretty much.
We're just going to start it off. Okay, Simon, number one, Lions-Chiefs. Thoughts?
It was an interesting game. I don't know if anybody... I had a lot of people tell me they thought that they called the fact that the Lions would beat the Chiefs. I don't believe any of it. It was a fun game, though, from what I remember watching it.
Who called it? I did. I called it.
Oh,
and
did
I
you
have
call
record
it?
of it.
Oh, right, you did call it. Never mind. No, I was thinking of I know another guy who called it, but yeah, you're right. You did call it. I did not. I absolutely got that one wrong fully, and I will fully admit to that. But it was an interesting game. Patrick Mahomes absolutely crapped the bed. Wasn't really his fault. The whole team kind of sucked. He had no receivers. Kadarius Toney had brick hands. The game's slowly coming back to me as I talk more and more about it. But I don't even know what else you can touch on. Kadarius Toney sucked.
I mean,
Mahomes screwed
yeah.
me in fantasy. What else is there?
That's
What do
pretty
you got?
much it. I mean, it's not like the Chiefs played an exceptionally bad game. Like, their defense was really good. It's just that when Mahomes doesn't have Kelsey and his receivers are either young and inexperienced or playing really poorly, then they're gonna lose games. But the thing is with the Chiefs is that, like I said in the AFC preview, they have a tendency to start off a little bit slow. So if you're a Chiefs fan, don't worry. It's not like you're going to like miss the playoffs or whatever because you lost this first game to the Lions. The Lions, as we know now, are a really good team, and they lost by 1 point in a really close game with some plays that with the bounce of a ball could have gone different. It's
I don't
definitely
remember
not something
who
I'd be
picked it
too
off,
alarmed.
But the pick on Mahomes...
It was
that
Brian
game was
Branch.
nuts.
Brian Branch.
Yeah, that pick was nuts. That was an insane catch. I think if you can take anything from this game, it's not that the Chiefs are necessarily a worse team. It's just how good the Lions are going to be this year. They're going to be they're going to be a hard team to beat in the NFC. And the thing is with the Chiefs, obviously they're going to suck more with Kelsey gone. And despite I heard some rumors that he might be out for the season. That was a scare for a
No.
solid 10 seconds. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. He's not now. I was going to lead into that. There was a report that came out that the Chiefs were scared that he might have. I don't remember what the injury was, but they were scared that it was going to be a season-ending injury, and then it came back to just be a deep bone bruise. So he will be back for next week, they're saying, which is good for anybody who picked him on fantasy. I know the second I said that they were scared about a season injury, everybody who took Kelsey at number 5 crapped their pants in fantasy. But
Yeah.
yeah, he'll be back next week. Chiefs will be back to chiefing. Not much to take from the game other than that, I don't think.
Who do they play next week? The Chiefs will probably have a nice rebound game. Ooh, they play the Jags, so maybe not.
That ain't a
That'll be an
rebound
interesting
game. That's going to be a tough
not
game
a rebound
as well.
game.
Yeah.
But still, even with that, it's not like even if they lose that game, they're not too much of a concern. All right, do you want to move on to the next game?
I have a lot more to say about this game.
Bengals Browns. Okay.
Obviously, a lot more fresh. I got up at like 10, which is earlier than a normal Saturday Simon or Sunday Simon likes to get up on. But interesting game. It was an interesting one to watch because despite what the score might say, I didn't think the Browns were that at all impressive either. They didn't look, especially Deshaun Watson. He was pretty crap. Like, there's one pick that I've seen already memeified to the goddamn moon where he threw it absolutely nowhere near a receiver, went right to a corner. I don't remember who made it.
Oh, yeah.
You probably
saw
don't
that.
remember the one I'm talking about. And then the Bengals just couldn't score anything because I was watching Red Zone because that's the easiest way to watch all of these games at once because I knew we'd talk about it. I wanted to be able to have at least something to say about every game. And it kind of started hitting me around it started at like 10, I think. Around 11, I was starting to think to myself, like, God, I've hardly seen the Bengals. They haven't popped up once. And then they finally pop up, and I see the scoreboard, and I'm like, what the hell happened? Because they just couldn't score. They just kept going out. Like, they... Obviously, like I said, I was watching Red Zone, so I didn't watch enough of it to really see what was happening. I don't know if you were. But, I mean, God, week one shakes or whatever the hell you want to call it. Something went wrong for the Bengals.
Well, Cincinnati had this last year too. They lost their first game to the Steelers last year too. So it's not. It was the Steelers and like Mitch Trubisky. So it's not like they're all that foreign to losing games in their first game to a team they should beat. That's not exactly that rare for them. However, it is a little concerning that their offense couldn't get going. It was also a bad weather game. The rain was just pouring in Cleveland today. And I do think it's a credit to the Browns defense. The Browns offense just did enough to win. It's not like, again, like you said, they were playing exceptional. But this Browns defense has lots of talent.
But that was kind of it on the offensive side of the ball for them. Like, Watson just did enough. It was as simple as that. From what I did see from him, I didn't really see anything impressive. We saw a little bit of his movement in the pocket, little bit of vintage Watson. I think we saw a little bit of that, but just like he missed more throws than I feel like he missed more impressive throws than he made, and it was just who knows. Maybe he'll have a better game next week. Who knows? I know a lot of people are still hoping for him to return to that form. He sure as hell wasn't it tonight. Or this afternoon, or whenever that game happened for you. We can move on, though, to the Texans and Ravens. First rookie quarterback of the day we'll be talking about in C.J. Stroud. What do you think?
So I think it's really interesting that his first pass is to himself.
That was cool.
So, yeah, we saw that a couple times. I don't remember who the other person was. I think it was Ritter.
Yep.
I think it was Ritter. But, yeah... He's up there with Brett Favre as people who have completed their first pass to themselves. And hopefully his career goes as well for his sake. Maybe all the stuff after the career, we don't want to get into that. But
let's not do that. Skip that.
CJ, don't do that. But
just
I thought it was...
keep your money you make in your career. You can do the rest. Don't do the rest.
Yeah. But... in terms of what I saw, again, like, all of this is with the caveat of, like, most of this is on Red Zone because we're not, at this point, analyzing the tape from every single game. But the bits and pieces that I saw, C.J. Stroud looked very much like a rookie quarterback. He made some stupid decisions. There was one where he just, like, was running to the side, and any smart
I
quarterback
know.
just throws that away, and he just cross-body threw it to the middle of the field and almost got picked off.
Well, the funny thing with that
it-
one, because I know the exact play you're talking about, and I remember watching it, and just even as a fan, I remember watching him run towards the sideline, and it was a good enough angle that you could kind of see his eyes move downfield, and he started to move his arm back, and I was like, ooh, we're about to see a highlight play from Stroud here, because he clearly sees someone open. You watch the ball go through the sky, and then it's a guy who's being covered, like triple covered. The thing is, when you do see a veteran make that play, it's because somebody is wide open. They have room to make a mistake. Because unless you're Patrick Mahomes or like Jesus Christ, there's not a chance you can throw 30 yards accurately on the run cross body. That's not happening, right? So obviously it kind of speaks to the confidence he has early, but we definitely saw a lot of jitters from CJ Stroud. I don't think it would be a controversial statement that he was probably the most like unimpressive rookie we saw today.
Yeah, I would
Bryce
say
Young
so,
wasn't
but
Bryce Young wasn't very good either, and we'll get into that when we get to the Panthers game. But I still
he
feel
showed
like we
he
saw
showed
more from him.
promise. He showed
Yeah.
promise. Speaking of rookies, though, I'll flip it to the other side. Before we move on to our next game, just want to give a shout out to Zay Flowers, who
Oh, yeah.
did really good for Baltimore.
He
9
looked
catches
very
for
good.
78 yards. He looked quick. Like he could be like, again, Baltimore with receiving talent is something to be scared of. OBJ played a pretty good game, drew a couple pass interferences, made
Yep.
pretty impressive catches. Like he looks like he's back and hasn't missed too much of a stride. And Zay Flowers looked like a really promising rookie that maybe should have been drafted higher. Who knows? But
He looked
overall,
quick.
good win for the Ravens. Oh yeah, like he looked really good. Good win for the Ravens. The Texans kept it close, like closer than I thought they would be. Like they were only down 1.5, but the Ravens did what they needed to do and pull it out in the second half. Oh hey, pulling games out in the second half. Oh boy, do good teams do that? I don't know. We'll get to that.
Okay,
Anyways,
you wanna?
I'm
you
not
wanna move
I'm
on
not
to
salty at
Buccaneers
all.
and Vikings. This was a weird game because I can tell you with 100% confidence that I sat through this entire game and I watched all of it, and I still honestly don't feel like I have much to say about it. It just kind of happened. It was a boring game. Like Justin Jefferson had a great game. We saw a lot from him. The rest of the Vikings sucked. It felt like that whole offense was kind of being carried by him for a little bit there. The Buccaneers were kind of interesting. Like as a fantasy owner of Mike Evans, I can tell you that he was invisible for the first half and scared me a little bit. Turned around in the second half, but I mean, Mayfield gets his first win as a starter with the Buccaneers. Maybe that's a sign of something good. He wasn't that impressive either though this week, so I don't know. I don't have a lot to say.
I don't know. I don't know. Mayfield, the fact that Mayfield, okay, like, I don't think we can understate how impressive it is, though, that the Buccaneers came out after everybody says they're going to be garbage, and they beat a playoff team like the Vikings, who went 13-4 last
fair,
year.
yeah.
That is impressive from the Bucks. And Baker Mayfield, well, he didn't have the most amazing game. He still played really well. He's still putting his heart and soul into every snap. The play that I saw where he like put his shoulder down into a couple of guys to try and get a first down.
It's true.
Like he's
Yeah.
he's still playing with his heart on his sleeve, and that is when you see peak Baker Mayfield. And I think this Bucks team, maybe we've been underrating them a little bit. It's definitely an interesting start, and it's a really good first quality win for them to have. The Vikings, it's a little bit of a scary start to the season. You certainly want to see that offense get a little bit more on track, but I don't know, when you got jerseys that good, maybe you'll be fine anyways. Those jerseys were sick.
Those are sick
They
jerseys.
look even better on the field than they did like in all the promotional pictures and when we were talking about it in that one segment. The Vikings looked really good. Not in
If the
terms of their
Vikings
play
are
on the
good
field,
at anything, it's
but
making good jerseys.
yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
But before we move on to the next game, speaking of the Vikings, the last part of the John Boyce documentary on the history of the Vikings came out, and it is amazing. Like we all knew it would be, but watch it. My previous shout out didn't make you go do that. Anyways,
Okay. Panthers, Falcons, what do you think? This was one of the games that I thought was the most interesting out of all the ones I watched, I think.
yeah. So I thought that Bryce Young again looked like a little bit of a rookie quarterback. Honestly, I did not see the 2 interceptions, so I don't know how bad they were. I was off doing. I was watching Red Zone, but I was off doing something else.
Okay, I want to talk on that actually, because if you didn't see him, I want to get into it a little bit, because it was a little scary, because he made. Just to give a little bit of emphasis on the first one. The first one happened, and I was like, okay, that's a rookie quarterback. Like any quarterback would have made that throw, would have gotten picked off. It was a slant, wide receiver running across the middle, threw it, linebacker got to it first. Classic pick. Like there's nothing special about it. It was very regular, right? And then, I think it was in the third quarter, I'm looking at my phone and I look up and they're showing a replay of Bryce Young's pick, right? And then I finally tune into what the commentator's saying. And he goes, actually, no, this isn't a replay. I know that might be what you're thinking. This is the second pick he just threw. He made the same mistake twice. Because it looked identical. Everything about it. Same linebacker was in the same spot. Same route by the wide receiver. I think it was the same wide receiver. And it was Jesse Bates twice. So it wasn't a linebacker. I just forgot it was Bates twice until just now. Safety, whatever. But it was not pretty. The second that I saw that happen, because obviously you make that mistake once, all right, it happened, move on. It's when you make it a second time that, at least personally, I start to get a little scared. Because I don't think it's a sign of anything. I think he'll shake it off. I still think he'll probably be either one of the best or the best rookie quarterbacks this season, easily. But other than those picks, he looked absolutely fine. His accuracy was definitely there. And he looked like everything that he was promised to be. Just, I don't know, the Panthers, other than him, nobody was really that impressive. The Falcons looked like a very, very good team, actually. I was pretty impressed by them. But, other than
that. The one thing, so I'd agree with everything you said for Bryce Young. It is a little concerning for him to make that same mistake twice, but the drive that I saw him the most on, when he led them for a touchdown in the first quarter, he looked pretty good. Like, he was picking his spots, he looked really accurate. That's the kind of mistake that you probably sit down in the film room and are like, okay, you made this mistake twice, let's not do that again. And then he probably gets it out of his game at a certain point to the extent that he can. On the Falcons side, Desmond Ridder, very efficient, but not a lot of production. 15 of 18 for 115 yards.
To be fair, that running game for Atlanta was lethal.
Yeah, I was going to get into that.
That was the thing that was super impressive. Bijan looked really good.
The touchdown is insanely impressive. The move he had.
But the one thing that I thought was impressive was, I will admit right now, just in case I do end up saying something stupid here, and you can catch me if I do. But coming out of college, I did not see Bijan Robinson as a type of like receiving running back. Obviously, he wasn't going to be bad.
No, he is. He is.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, maybe I'm
coming out of college. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, he was. That's part of why he was such a special player, is because he is very much an all-around like freak type of player. He can do it all, no matter where you put him.
Okay, well, I don't watch college football. Whatever, screw off.
Okay.
But I thought it was insanely impressive how he was able to just instantly fall perfectly right into where the Falcons needed him. Where, like, obviously we saw, I don't know how to say his name, like Algiers, is that right? Algier?
Yep.
Algiers?
Algier.
Okay, Algier. He was very much going to be the main running back in the red zone, main running back, just like, whatever you want to call it, running down the field. So Robinson said, hey, I'm going to make my own role. And he went out there and he did what he needed to do to still get on the board, and he looked insanely impressive. And that impressed me a lot, because I think most of the times when we see rookies struggle, it's usually because somebody else took their role and all of a sudden they have to try and adapt to something else, and they just can't do it. We saw
Yes.
Bijan like just fall instantly perfectly right into where Atlanta needed him to be. He looked great. Not much else I got to say other than that. I thought
He definitely did. I would. We spent a lot of time on this game. It is one of the more interesting ones. But before we move on, an open letter to Arthur Smith. You have one of the best young tight ends in the game. Please throw the ball to him. Please, for the love of God, throw the ball to him. The one time he caught it, it was amazing. It was in double coverage, and he made an amazing catch. And
It was a nice catch.
He was technically your leading receiver with 2 catches for 44 yards. But you should be throwing it to him more than twice. He should have more than 44 yards.
Real quick? So, sitting in class today in college, and I was talking with one of the people sitting next to me, and we were comparing fantasy teams, as one does. And he tells me that he took Kyle Pitts for the 3rd year in a row. And the first thing he said afterwards, after I started shaking my head at him, was, I am ready to be hurt again, and this is going to be his breakout year. So, if that says anything about the usage of Kyle Pitts throughout his career so far, he has all the talent in the world, but they just refuse to get him the ball. They refuse to do anything to try and get him.
It's so
open
upsetting.
the ball.
They
It's
use
so
him as
sad.
like a decoy. They use him as a decoy instead of actually throwing him the ball. It is the most like Arthur Smith. I understand you're famous for running the ball with Derrick Henry and being really good at just pounding it down people's throats, but like if you have a player like this, just use him. It's not that hard.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It has been disappointing thus far in his career how little he's been utilized, especially as a pass threat. The joke I made to the guy that day when we were talking about him was that he's basically just a second right tackle. Like, half the game, like, he just blocks, and it's so depressing because he has so much talent. But anyway, we should move on to probably the most boring game of the day, Cardinals-Commanders. What did you think?
I disagree. Not the
You don't
most
think so?
boring of the day.
I was
a
impressed
couple-
by the Cardinals, but other than that, that was.
I think it's less about being impressed by the Cardinals and being just, oh no, this season might be worse than we thought for Washington. I don't know, the fact that they barely squeaked out a win against this
That's
Arizona team, like, I don't know, anytime Red Zone switched to them, that Cardinals offense was stuck in the mud. Josh Dobbs, again, it was just like Desmond Ridder. Very efficient, 21 for 30, but you're not getting anywhere with that because it's just small dump-offs going for nothing. It's not like I'm going to expect too much out of him because, again, they're playing
I was
him,
going to say,
like,
from all things considered, he had been looking at the playbook for what I think was 2 weeks. I think that's what they said.
3 weeks, yeah.
3 weeks. From just based on that, I was actually fairly impressed that he was able to do anything. Like, from what we did see of him, I was like, okay, sure. Like, that was enough.
Yeah.
But, like, he did a lot more than I thought he'd do, so on that part I was impressed. But, yeah, Washington didn't look too good. Like, I definitely expected this to be, if there was going to ever be a game where Sam Howell was going to look impressive, I thought it would be this game, and he looked very mediocre at best. Which disappointed me, because I have been saying all offseason that Sam Howell is the guy that I really want to break out. Because, for not really, I just like him as a player, but I was disappointed today, definitely.
Yeah, it was a disappointing performance, and who knows, maybe when they play like an actual NFL football team, we'll get a better judge on what he looks like. But, I mean, good win, Washington. If you had lost, I would have been very concerned, and it was looking like you might have for a second. So count your blessings, figure out what the hell you're doing, and go play. That was preseason week 4. Go play a real game next week.
Okay, we can move on. Jags-Colts. This was an
I have a lot to
interesting
say.
game. I do too.
I have a lot to say. Okay.
You wanna start?
First of all, I have 3 things. Number 1, my favorite play I have the whole year. I haven't seen any of the other games yet, but I already know it's my favorite play of the whole year. Has happened in this game. the Colts go and they sack Trevor Lawrence, and it looks like it's just an incomplete pass. It looks like the ball got hit out of his hand, and it's just fallen to the ground incomplete. So Tank Bigsby, the Jags running back, picks it up, and he just stands there because he just thinks the play is dead, but nobody's blown it dead. So I think it's DeForest Buckner who has.
It was Buckner.
No, I think it might be EJ. It's either EJ Speed or DeForest Buckner.
Buckner
there was two forced fumbles.
Buckner was the one to pick it up, but I don't remember who.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I think it might have been EJ Speed who punched it the second time.
No,
but
no,
to have
it wasn't. I can't. Crap. Is there a linebacker named like Franklin on the Colts?
Something
like that.
I do not know.
Crap. Oh. Because I remember, I can picture it in my head. It's like a shot of the sideline. It's like Buckner and then the guy who punched it out. They're like, they cut to him. It's both of them kind of celebrating together. And they're like, that guy punched it out. That guy ran it in. I was like, okay, cool. Memory did that. But in my brain, like the name is blurred out.
But it's like, which one? Because there were two punches out. And I think just having no matter who it was, having the wherewithal to realize that it's not a dead play and still go after Tank Bigsby, who's just standing there not knowing what to do because fair. Like, it's such a weird play. And the fact that they returned it for a touchdown and it still counted and it gave them the lead, amazing. No notes. NFL script writers doing really good to start off the season.
Sure.
A couple other things that maybe you can comment on. Anthony Richardson, I thought looked really good, but it was also a very much what I kind of expected.
He thinks he's a running back.
Because he thinks he's a running back. That's a big thing. But the other thing is like the untimely interception. He was really good because his big thing was that he like takes risks and he'll win you the game with some amazing play and then turn around and lose you the game with some like boneheaded garbage. And he was so good at not succumbing to that for the entire game except when it mattered the most. And the Colts were in this game. They could have won. But
there's a point
it was
that
interception. Oh, I did too, but the interception sunk them, and at that point, it was pretty much all done. I thought Trevor Lawrence apparently came up to Richardson after the game and told him, like, hey, the hits are different in the NFL than they are in college. He should take that advice. Let's just say that.
Well, I mean, he ended up leaving the game because he didn't get that advice earlier. And the funny thing was, it was not a risk he needed to take. I don't believe they were very close to the end zone when he took that hit. It was just the type of thing.
Well, they were, but the game was over. The game was over at that point.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I mean. Like they were. I don't think they were close enough that even if he had managed to get over this guy, they would have scored. Like, that's what I mean. They weren't close enough. Like, he just he went for it. Guy landed on his leg. Story of the day. Don't do that. that was not very smart as a quarterback to do. But other than that, I was pretty impressed. Like, obviously Jonathan Taylor's still out. It's not like he has, other than Pittman and like a couple of other guys other than that I honestly don't even know if I could name if you had a gun to my head. Like, it's not like he had the most help in the world, and he still was able to do pretty damn well with it. I think that I'd still say he was probably the most impressive rookie quarterback today. But
he played the most above expectations, at least.
Yeah, but the line's not very high after the first couple. I can definitely say that. Like, I don't know. He wasn't bad. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't incredible. I mean, you hit it. You said, he was exactly what you thought he'd be. He was just as athletic as I think everybody thought he was going to be. So I guess that wasn't surprising. The rushing touchdown was pretty nice. That was a good play on his end. I don't have much else to say other than that. Other than that, the Colts weren't that impressive as a team. I think there was one really nice Pittman touchdown that I can't... I think it was Pittman, where he ran it in. That was pretty sweet. But other than that, I can't remember anything other than that. So
yeah. Jags looked good. The one thing I'll say before moving on to the next one is
ETN
shout out
looked
Calvin
pretty
Ridley.
Oh, and
ETN looked
Calvin
good.
Ridley.
Shout out Calvin Ridley for coming back after being away for 2 years and posting like the best first half numbers in his career, I think, was what the graphic was showing. I think he tailed off a little bit in the second half, but I believe he still cracked 100 yards. I'm very, very glad I picked him up in fantasy. I believe in all of the leagues that I'm in. And I'm really I'm rooting for him, man. I think he got jobbed with a gambling suspension. I think it's kind of absurd how long they suspended him for. So I'm hoping he comes out there and destroys the league, and it looks like he's well on his way to doing that as Trevor Lawrence finally has a good number one receiver.
Oh, yeah. We can move on to 49ers and Steelers. We are already over 30 minutes, and we have...
I can
one, two,
wrap up
three,
this,
4, 5...
and we haven't talked about the Seahawks
6,
yet.
7, 8. We have 8.
I can wrap up Niners Steelers in like 2 seconds if you want it.
we'll do Niners Steelers. How about this? Niners. Sure. Wrap it up. Niners Steelers. Go. Speed run.
This makes me feel incredible pain. The Niners look really good, and I'm very scared. Okay, that's it.
Yeah. Pickett sucks. Okay, move on.
Titans Saints.
Derek Carr looked meh. Tannehill looked terrible.
Yeah,
What
Tannehill.
else?
Okay, the Titans. The Titans look like a very bad football team. Like I kind of thought they would be. Again, Tannehill looked genuinely terrible. They're going to be very, very bad this year.
This was a quote that I said to somebody else, and I stand by it. Willis will be starting by week 4. Levis will be starting by week 5.
I would not be shocked if that's how all of this goes. Like
It's gonna happen.
It's going to be a long season for the Titans.
For sure.
Maybe they can be put in the Caleb Williams conversation because again, this
Ooh.
Saints team.
I sure hope not. I don't really want to
weren't-
see
weren't
him on the
looking-
Titans.
Yeah, that's kind of rough. But yeah, the Saints weren't looking too good either. Not only mustering 16 points. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, good job to their defense. They got
That's
a lot
true.
of help from
Like,
Tannehill, but
There was a lot of times where I didn't think they looked bad. But I mean, they were exactly what I thought they'd be. Nothing impressive. Nothing necessarily bad. Derek Carr looked like Derek Carr. Like, what else can you say about it, right? We can move on to Raiders Broncos.
Okay,
Jimmy
this
G.
is
Jimmy
where-
G'd.
yeah, this is where I start giving disclaimers that I did not really watch. I watched very little pieces of these games because I was instead watching the Seahawks game.
Yeah.
But from what I did see, Sean Payton is obviously has very little trust in his offense, considering that he onside kicked it to start the game. That was strange. Russell Wilson actually didn't play too badly. 27 for 34, 177 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But the only thing that matters in the end is that they only scored 16 points.
Yep.
The defense held them to 17. They held them under 20 again, like they did all of last season. The offense needs to do better. It looks like a good. Honestly, like the fact that Russ played that well is a good sign.
Yeah.
But they need to.
They were also playing
overall
without Judy.
get better.
They were playing without
Yeah.
Judy, which I think is important to point out. I think that they're just gonna have to adjust to Sean Payton's system. Maybe that's a little bit of it. They just starting the year a little sleepy. I don't think this is a good sign of how good the Broncos will be. Probably like halfway through the season. I think that they're gonna improve a lot in the next couple weeks. I would not take this win that the Raiders got today as really a sign of anything. I'm not very high on the Raiders. I don't think I saw anything that necessarily, like Jimmy G looked all right. He looked like himself.
He looked like Jimmy G. If he looked
there's not much
like
to say about it, right? Like
Yeah, it's Jimmy
okay.
G.
We can move on to Eagles and Jimmy G's old team, the Patriots.
Okay, this is. I did watch some of this.
I did
especially
too.
the end. That is surprising how well the Patriots played.
It was because Giorno.
Their
this
defense
should
is
be
legit.
a very good
Their
sign.
defense is for real. Their defense is for real.
So I was about to get into that because I was watching all these games today while looking at my phone and my fantasy team, and right as this game was starting, I was like, "Who's my defense again?" And I go and take a peek, and I'm like, "Oh, the Patriots. That's not very good. Why do I have the Patriots defense? Who are they playing this week? Oh, the Eagles. Oh no, that's not good. I thought I had sewered myself, and despite the Patriots losing, they were pretty damn good. Like, that defense showed up. They showed up ready to play, and Mac Jones looked pretty garbage. He made a couple nice throws, but he was looking like trash to start the game. And I mean, I don't know what else I don't even know if I have anything to say on the Eagles, really. They kind of like, I don't remember.
Mac Jones, to give him credit, did throw 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
Like
those first 2 picks were atrocious.
He only threw 1 pick.
Oh, did he? Oh.
Yep.
Why did I think he had 2? Okay, that's on me. That's my bad. This was when I was starting. This was like in the point in the afternoon where I'd been sitting in front of the TV for like however many hours. I was out of it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so that's
I'd say good for the Eagles for pulling out the win. It's a little bit of a scare for them because they were just expected to, like, I expected them to bulldoze this game. So maybe a little bit of a scare, maybe some things they can improve on next week. But Patriots, good job. You put up more of a fight than I thought, and maybe this Sunday night football game against the Dolphins will be more entertaining than I thought it'll be next week. Okay,
yeah, we'll see.
Can I bitch about the Seahawks?
Okay, go nuts.
Fuck. Okay. So, first of all, they looked pretty like decent to start the game. They were very like okay. The offense started off. I think they scored on their first 4 drives, or at least Jason Myers didn't miss a field goal. But they looked okay, and okay, like that's exactly what I want to see. This is a very good offense on paper. The receiver talent they have, insane. The offensive line they have, really good. Obviously, Kenneth Walker is really good. And Geno Smith was looking, at least at the start of the game, really freaking good. But then the wheels fell off, and it was a tale of 2 halves. The Seahawks in the second half, and like I'm discounting garbage time. They only had 3 yards of offense in the second half, and they were outscored, I think, like 23-0. What the f is that? I'm sorry, editor Simon. I'm a little bit removed from it. I had to go anger bike. I just like biked up a hill because I was so mad about what had happened. It was one of the most like depressing halves of football I think I've ever watched in my entire life. Because it was just like, it just felt inevitable at a certain point. We're getting dunked on by a guy named Puka. Puka Nakua was putting up like Jerry Rice numbers on our asses because we can't get a pass rush. Stafford would just sit back in the pocket all day and pick apart our like weak ass zones. It was just like an awful showing. And even to put a little salt in the wound, our biggest weakness from last year, the run defense, it actually looked pretty good. Like, we stopped the Rams on the run. It's just that, we focused all of our attention on doing that. Congratulations. We now suck at everything else. I am now confirmed a moron for saying the Seahawks would make it to the Super Bowl. I am changing my tune. This team is genuinely awful, and I think they will go 0-17. That was the most uninspired football I think I've seen in my entire life in the second half of that game, and now we get to play the Lions. I am so looking forward to getting blown out 50-0 next week, as Geno Smith goes and buries his head between his ass. Plus, we have all of our players got injured. Tyler Lockett got a concussion. Charles Cross broke his toe, and Abraham Lucas blew up his knee. Looking forward to 2024. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Otherwise, good game.
This was when I was fully watching Red Zone at this point in the game. So they were not showing a lot of Rams Seahawks. I was also very much engrossed in my TikTok feed at this point. I was very done with watching football. But I just remember, I think I for some reason was not next to my TV. I might have been making a sandwich, and I just got a text from Caleb that just says, I think I'm going to be swearing a lot on the podcast today. So I think that pretty much describes the Seahawks game in a nutshell. We can move on. Dolphins Chargers. I don't have anything to say on the Seahawks game. Kenneth Walker, you me. Add another swear in there. Kenneth Walker, you sewered me. It also, speaking of Dolphins Chargers, Tyreek Hill. I was playing him in fantasy this week. He picked my whole team up, took me behind the barn, and screwed me to hell. And I lost the whole damn week. I was winning up until that. I was up 20 goddamn points. Tyreek Hill sucks. God damn it. I'm so mad. It was so frustrating. I turned off my phone for 20 minutes, and I turned it back on, and I'm losing by 30. And I was so pissed. I half the fun of watching. That's what I fully tuned out of these games, by the way. The second that it got to that point in the Dolphins game when Tyreek Hill just became the second coming of Christ and just could catch and ran with everything, I was so mad. God.
How many receiving yards did he end up having?
Like 180.
Oh, no, 215. I think I saw something on Instagram that said he was on pace for 3,600 receiving yards. That's insane. Good job.
You know what
Dolphins.
hurts? You know what really, really, really hurts right now? I swear to God, I think I could have picked him in fantasy over Diggs. I took Diggs over him, I think.
Ooh, rough choice.
I think so. I'm regretting
That wasn't very smart.
At least I
Very
think.
smart.
God, I'm in pain right now. Because I really thought I was going to win this week. And now, it's Diggs' turn to bring it back. I'm going to open my fantasy app right now and show the situation I'm in. It's going to be one of those Monday Night Football games where I need 40 points from a receiver. It's going to happen. It's my prediction for the week. Yeah, I'm currently losing 135 to 109.
What am I looking like right now? I didn't even check.
So right now,
I think I'm losing.
One second.
Oh, I'm
quick.
winning.
Simon, go math. 26. I need 26 points from Diggs to win. So if
Okay, that's doable.
That's doable, but keep in mind I want to say this as many times as possible. I should have said it more at the beginning of the podcast. We are doing this Sunday night. Monday's Bills-Jets game has not happened yet. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to talk about that next week, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll be too late at that point.
I'm not even gonna watch that. I'm gonna be jamming to Beyonce. I'm gonna be
hell
going
yeah.
to the Beyonce concert. So sorry, Bills Jets.
I might watch. We'll see. We'll see what I'm doing. See how bored I am. That's a pretty good game, I guess. Maybe I'll watch that actually.
We'll see. We'll see how Aaron Rodgers is.
Okay, well, other than Tyreek Hill taking me behind the barn, what did you think on that Dolphins-Chargers game, if you even watched it?
Again, I was too engrossed in being depressed to pay too much attention to it, but it looks like it was a really exciting game. This is one of the games that I might watch the highlights of later down the line. But from what I saw, it's just like it's two really good offenses going at each other. I'm not that shocked at this result. I'm not that shocked they scored 70 points combined. Both of these teams are going to be very good, and the Dolphins just got one more play than the Chargers did. These teams are going to be very good. They should both make the playoffs, and they have a lot of potential for the future. The Chargers. I was very upset that this game was going on at the same time as the Seahawks game, because my rule is that I always watch the Seahawks, no matter how interesting the other games are. But I was disappointed I missed this game because I knew it was going to be a close one, especially given the drama like Tua versus Herbert. Tua picked over Herbert, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But hopefully they meet again in the playoffs. Maybe that would be a really good playoff game.
That would be a good game. Yeah. We can move on. Packers-Bears. I was super impressed with Jordan Love. I did try and catch as much of this game as I could have, especially considering what he was working with. I believe it was Christian Watson, wasn't it?
Christian Watson was out, yeah.
It was an insanely impressive game from Jordan Love. He made a couple throws that were really, really nice. Like, I can think of like one or two, maybe like three in my head. The rest were not necessarily anything crazy. But it was more impressive to me that he didn't really make any mistakes either. Like, he looked like a vet out there. And he played perfectly. Justin Fields didn't really have anything to respond to it, and I think I had the Packers doing. I don't think I had them making the playoffs, but I still had them like doing all right, all things considered. They're in a monster division, but I still had them doing all right, and I'm feeling more confident in that decision after watching.
Yeah. I am feeling less confident in my Packers predictions after this because I had them doing very poorly, and I don't know. That early indications are really good, which makes me really upset. The Packers have already been spoiled enough. Why can't you just suffer for a little bit? If they have gotten another Hall of Fame level, obviously too early to say, but if they have gotten another Hall of Fame level quarterback,
no, are you kidding? One game into his career, Jordan Love's got
Rodgers,
MVP.
Love. I don't know. It's just he played for a first game. This is really good. Like,
oh yeah.
Again, it's the fact that he didn't make any mistakes. That is like all of these other rookie quarterbacks that we've talked to. Anthony Richardson, back-breaking interception to lose them the game. C.J. Stroud is throwing passes cross-body into 3 Ravens defenders. Bryce Young is just making the same mistake over and over again, which makes, like, again, you can't fault them too much. It's their first game. Oh, yeah. But Jordan Love looks like a pro out there.
Can Jordan Love still technically win Rookie of the Year? I don't know how that works in the NFL.
I don't think he could because he's still played games. But for all intents and purposes, he is a rookie. But who knows? Maybe sitting behind and learning from Aaron Rodgers for 3 years actually gets you a benefit. Maybe the Packers weren't as stupid as we all thought.
Oh, who knows? Yeah, who knows? Cowboys, Giants. This was the game I watched the least. This was the game that the second it got about halfway through the first quarter, and and Dak had, or whatever had happened, they were up 16-0, I think. I was like, I'm gonna go walk my dog and do anything else. Like, cause I don't know, it was a game. It happened.
Well, 40-0, not exactly the best Sunday Night Football game I've ever seen. But it was, it's a really good. I think it's more. I'm taking it more as a positive sign from the Cowboys than a negative sign for the Giants. It was pouring rain in New York, like pouring. Like those, they got some shots of this. Like I think Saquon had the play where he fumbled it and then it got returned for a touchdown. You can just see him sitting as the rain just like decimates him. So the fact that the Giants got shut out, I'm gonna choose to say that that's more a Cowboys defense thing. This Cowboys defense looks really, really, really good. And I think they're going to make Simon's prediction of them missing the playoffs look really stupid pretty soon. And Dak looks a lot like better. Like Tarico and Chris Collinsworth. We're talking about the transition the Cowboys are making to more of a West Coast style offense, to where Dak isn't taking as many risks as he was before, and I think that is a good and noble cause. I think Dak can play that kind of game really well. We'll see how this goes the whole season, but if Dak has this kind of performance, I mean, obviously it's not going to be 40-0 every week, but if he can get this kind of play from his defense for the rest of the season, the Cowboys are going to win a lot of games, and they could challenge Philadelphia for this number 1 spot, because, again, the Giants were a playoff team last year, so a 40-0 blowout of them is no joke.
Yeah, I can. You mentioned my prediction for the Cowboys. I'm definitely hurting a little bit on that one now. Obviously, 1 game in, Giants did not look good, so maybe that's just a sign on how good or bad, mainly bad, the Giants might be this year. If the Cowboys can keep what we saw today up, they will be a monster. And even with how good we saw the Lions being against the Chiefs, I could see that battle for that top spot being pretty nuts between the Cowboys and the Lions. 2 very different teams, like just stylistically. I think that'll be a fun game whenever we finally get to see them play. I'm excited for that, yeah. And obviously, like we said, Bills Jets hasn't happened yet for us. It'll have happened for you. Don't spoil it. That's not how time works. Shut up.
Before we wrap this up,
did the camera get that? I just knocked my mic onto the ground. Audio viewers, I am so sorry. That must have sounded like ass. Okay, good segment.
Good segment.
Good segment.
I will
40
say, before we finally end this definitely 30-minute segment, because we said it would be 30 minutes and it is 30 minutes. This is week 1. A lot of stuff there's a lot of overreactions we can make. We can say
Cowboys to the
Seahawks
Super
are
Bowl,
gonna go-
baby! Dem boys, whatever the hell they say. Cowboys going all the way. That's my
you
prediction.
can say,
17-0.
say the
Dak
Bengals
for
and
MVP.
Seahawks are going 0-17. The Chiefs lost. Like right now, the Washington Commanders have a better record than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Chiefs are gonna miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
Washington to the Super Bowl. All of these things are gonna happen.
It's week 1. A lot of this stuff is just smoke. The good teams steady out as the season goes on. So
And make
we'll
sure
see
to
how that
trust the
plays
smoke.
out.
Trust the
Yeah,
smoke
but
and follow my conspiracy theory podcast, where I explain how the Commanders, how Sam Howell was faking all along. The next 16 games, he's going to go off and have the most elite NFL season we have ever seen from a quarterback. And Dak Prescott is going to go like 17-0 as well or something, which doesn't even make sense considering they're in the same division. And then rainbows everywhere. That's my plan. That's my prediction. Put it on a billboard.
Yep.
It's going to happen.
But what I will say is if the Seahawks, because the Seahawks play the Lions, Giants, and Panthers, if they can't win at least 2 of those next games, I don't know what I'll do. I think I might miss a couple podcasts because of just depression. So for those of you who like the podcast, you should maybe cheer for a Seahawks win for my sake. Yeah.
She's going to start by week 3, it's going to be drinking during the podcast. It's by week 5, going to be pulling out fucking heroin needles. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough season.
Yeah, it's looking like that. Oh,
yeah. It's going to be rough.
Me.
Tune in to watch Caleb's
NFL
pain
is back,
for 17
baby.
weeks. We got 17 weeks of pain. Let's go. Next segment.
NFL is back.
NFL is back, and with the NFL being back, let's finally talk about something else.